From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up? What's up? What's going on? It is time for the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. And you know it is a good day today because we got our syndicate, our correspondent, Mr. Sports Radio, sports agent aficionado himself, Mr. Mike Abadir is joining us today. And man, oh man, let me not take too much longer to bring him out. What's up, Mike? What's up? What's going on, Pop? How are you, brother? I love the fact that we are entertaining a Wednesday on Thursday, which means that we're closer to football. Right. So, I wanted to make sure I talked to you about your Thursday night football and everything like that and all that good stuff, the World Series as well, too. So, pretty much let's get started with the World Series as well. So, yesterday we had ourselves a nice little blowout by the Astros, but game one you had a nice little blowout by the Braves. So as you can see, this is I guess like a matchup series. I think this one is going to wind up going 7 games. It's not going to get the ratings that the MLB would hope for, but it's going to be a good series though, regardless. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good series. It is a good series already. It's not going to get the ratings. This was probably the worst combination out of the Final Four that they could have hoped for. Literally the worst. I mean, I think the Dodgers against anybody would have been good because you would have had a rematch, right? Red Sox versus Dodgers. They want to get back at the Sox. Houston versus the Dodgers. Double revenge, right? Cheating allegations and some things that were proven to be cheating against the Dodgers. They wanted to whip their butts. Similarly, the Red Sox going up against anybody would have been good as well. You have the old Boston Braves now down in Atlanta, or like I said, a rematch with the Dodgers. So we are left with Houston and Atlanta, 2 teams that have been hot, that peaked at the right time. Things came together at the right time. If you remember, Pop, I actually scheduled the funeral for 3 teams in baseball after Acuna got hurt. I buried the Twins, and they were deserving, the Yankees, who barely snuck into the playoffs, and the Braves. And I was dead wrong, man. And you got to give a lot of props to the general manager for bringing in Soler and Jock Peterson and retooling that relief pitching core. They've done a fantastic job, and I'm still a little bit in disbelief that they're in the World Series, to be honest with you, because I didn't think that they were one of even the top 3 teams in the National League. Houston is a little bit less surprising because they've got so much firepower. But look, both these teams are down a man pitching-wise. I see this going 7. I see this being a very interesting series throughout. I think it's going to be for a baseball fan, you're going to get your money's worth. From a national audience perspective, it's probably not a lot of people that are that interested in Atlanta versus Houston.
Yeah, they really need to have a big, splashy World Series to really compete with the NBA at this moment and with the NFL at the moment and college football to be exact. So, people are going to have a lot of options within the next few weeks as well too as these games are on because you got a lot of sports going on at once. Next weekend you got the Breeders' Cup as well too on in Del Mar. I know that we'll probably be talking about it on your show when we get time to do that. next week. So pretty much I'm excited about the Breeders' Cup. I'm kind of going into the Breeders' Cup kind of unknowingly this year. There's a lot of work I got to really get down and get my studying on because a lot of the horses really aren't moving the way that you would think they would be moving at this time of the year. You know what I mean? It's wide open. There's not really like that horse that's out there, but we'll save that for another show, another time. But we want to keep it moving and keep talking about all the good stuff. But all in all, I like the Astros to win the whole thing in the World Series. I think that they're going to go to this Atlanta, possibly win the next game and everything like that. I was kind of sad not to see the Red Sox go ahead and take care of their business back in Houston. They kind of let all of us down in a sense, Game 5 and Game 6. So, it is what it is. These are now the best two teams left in the league. And it showed how hard it is in the MLB to actually repeat and be dominant and be back in the World Series and all that stuff. The game's not designed for them to be, having multiple championships like the NBA. You know what I mean?
You're very right about that. But hey, here we are. We've got the Astros. They've really been dominant over the last 5-6 years. How many World Series have they now been in? So they've really proven themselves to be maybe like the one of the teams of the 2000s, to say the least. One other thing I want to mention, Pop. Huge props to Dusty Baker. I love Dusty Baker. He's the only manager to take 5 teams to the playoffs, 5 teams to win the division, 5 teams to the playoffs. He's a badass. He should be a Hall of Fame manager. I'm glad he got to the World Series again. It's been a while since the last one against the Angels in 2002, where they accused him of mismanaging the pitching staff and taking Russ Ortiz out a little bit too early. He now has an opportunity to get some payback, and I'm rooting for Dusty. I would not at all mind if I see him getting that World Series ring because he deserves it.
And you know what? And it's so funny to me, man, that everybody always uses a manager as a cop-out way to just say somebody got blew up in a game. Look, it is what it is. Russ Ortiz, I watched the game. Russ Ortiz was tired. He had pitched a hell of a game that day. And pretty much what happened was the bullpen let them down. They got a job to do. Dusty can't go out there and pitch for you. You know what I mean? So, if you gave up the home run, that's on the guy that gave up the home run.
Excellent point. And by the way, Pop, if you look back at his season as a whole, Russ Ortiz was like clockwork. He'll give you a good 5-6 innings. Once he gets to the 7th, he gives up 4 runs every single time. And it's funny because I was even thinking to myself, why don't they just give him 6 and pull him, regardless of pitch count, regardless of anything? Because he always hits that road bump once he gets to the 7th. So obviously Dusty Baker knew that. He made the right move. You're right. The bullpen failed. It wasn't Dusty Baker that failed.
Right. Just like when the Dodgers beat the Rays last year. Snell blew up in the 5th inning of the first game they went against the Dodgers. The Dodgers had two guys on base. The manager saw what was about to happen. So what happens is that the reliever is the one that gets blown up, but Blake Snell was the one that left the mess. So why are we getting to questioning the manager? The manager prepares you. It's your job to produce. Let's stop scapegoating bad gameplay. Just blame somebody because we mad because we lost a bet, or we mad because that was my favorite team and all that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the manager has 24 players at his disposal that are all major league level, that are all supposed to produce when called upon, regardless of the circumstance. They need to be ready and they need to come in and perform. So just because you chose one guy to replace another guy doesn't mean that the manager made a mistake. It means that the player that he brought in didn't perform. And that's how I see it. I agree with you 100%.
All right. So we gotta keep moving, and we get a little discussion about the World Series. We move forward to some college football tonight. We got ourselves an AAC matchup between two bottom AAC teams in South Florida, East Carolina. A lot of people probably won't be too focused on this game as watching it, but this is for the bettors, and we know the bettors will be there, picking sides and everything like that in this game. I think that they're absolutely overselling Eastern Carolina in this game, to be honest with you, Mike. And this one winds up being one of these games where you could possibly get some big value in this spot tonight as well, too. Real quick, what are your thoughts?
I can't say I'm very well versed on these teams, so I wouldn't want to lead any of the bettors astray. But what I can cite are the numbers. South Florida is 5-2 in their money line bets in their last 7 against ECU. Simply put, 5-2 money line. That's 71%. So a money line play here at plus 300 is great value. South Florida is 3-2 in the spread bets against ECU in the last 5. Now, how could you be 5-2 on the money line, 3-2 in the spread? Easily, because sometimes they were the favorite and they just didn't cover the spread as the favorite, right? But overall, they come to play when they meet ECU.
Yes, and that's exactly what I see here, and I think that we're in for a much, much better game than they're trying to put out on paper. So let's go ahead, jump into our next spot, which is a Sun Belt game, and this is going to be between the same team we talked about last week, Coastal Carolina, now number 24 in the nation, and going against Troy. We know that this conference has produced some big upsets this year as well, too, with UL Monroe having 2 30-point wins, 30 plus point dogs. So this 16.5 is nothing to run away from. You might want to run towards it. Coastal Carolina coming off of a bad loss against Appalachian State. Mike did go ahead and call that one too as well, with letting us know that, pretty much that this one had the upset written all over it for Coastal Carolina, because the way that things set up and the way the numbers are between those two teams all the time. Now, all in all, this game right here looks like it should be a good bounce back game for Coastal Carolina, but you can't trust anything. But I'm gonna tell you like this, Mike, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I think the guy will be a top 5, top 10 pick coming up next year. He is solid. He can run, he can pass, he can do it all. And I think that he's proven enough that he'll be able to make the transition into the NFL. And you don't have many top tier quarterbacks going into this year's draft, and he will be considered one of them once we do get there. So I like what I see with him, and we'll see how it goes. But I think that this game is more of a scoreboard watch over under type of game. So that's what I'm leaning on when it comes to this spot right here. Mike, what are your thoughts real quick?
You nailed it. Over under. I think this play here is a little bit almost too obvious for me. 42-38. That's the last time they played, which was 10 months ago. that's 80 points. 35-36. That was their prior meeting. That's 71 points. 45-21. 42-17. This has overwritten all over it. Let me go over 50.
All right. So Mike got to over 50 tonight. And there it is. There it is. Now let's go ahead and jump into some Thursday night football. And with the Thursday night football, as you guys can see, we have pretty much the best game you'll probably ever get for a Thursday. You got a 6-1 going against a 7-0. This is giving you the vibes of a possible at least a divisional matchup in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So, you're getting all the good vibes and everything off this game, and I think that's what a lot of people are moving towards. But when you look at the stats of how this game is going to work, you got a Packers team that's played lights out football all year, except for the exception being week 1, where everybody thought the Packers were done, and they're not. They're 5-1 versus the NFC, 1-3 over under on the road, though. So that means they've been going under more than they've went over on the road. They're 3-1 straight up on the road as well, and they're also 2-2 against the spread on the road. So they have shown that they can do their thing on the road. And without Devontae, the Packers are actually 6-0. So that's a pretty good stat. Cards coming into this game 2-1 against the spread, 3-0 straight up at home, 2-1 against the spread at home, like I said prior, 1-2 at home with the over and under, and 3-0 versus the NFC. But they did all this when they had J.J. Watt. And J.J. Watt, as I told you during the summer, yes, he'll be valuable until he gets hurt, and now he's going to be out for the season. So pretty much, I didn't say he's going to be valuable. I said he was washed up, and I thought that injury was going to rear its ugly head at some point, even if he was going to be able to ball, because J.J. Watt had to go ahead and prove to all of us that he was still a stalwart in the NFL when it came to being a defensive end. But all in all, though, those injuries aren't going anywhere. He had 4 separate injuries he was dealing with, and now it's a season. And I think this is going to change the whole character of how this team is now. J.J. Watt added to a defense that already had a lot of great defense, that already had a great edge rusher and Chandler Jones. And they were able to do this bookend thing that makes everybody look really good on defense, if not great. Cleveland has the same scenario with Clowney and Garrett. So with Clowney and Garrett. So when I look at this game, I say to myself that this game has all the looks of a trap for people who want to back the Cardinals tonight. This is going to be a tough spot for the Cardinals. I don't care what anybody says. And they also have a quarterback that absolutely got beat up like he was in a street fight, getting jumped by a room full of gang members. Seriously, dude, this guy got beat up on Sunday, Kyler Murray. And, they beat up Houston, but still in the first half, they even had to take him out the game for a few moments there because they thought he might have a concussion, because that's how bad it got against the Texans, Mike. So I like the Packers here, as I talked about on NFL Bet Exchange, and I think that it could be a big night for the Packers as well, too.
Look, they lose J.J. Watt, they being the Cardinals, but they get back Chandler Jones today. He hasn't been in the lineup since week 5. He's been on the COVID list, so he comes back. Same with D lineman Zach Allen. So they lose 1, they get back 2. I think that is going to maybe be somewhat of a wash. Yeah, you don't have that leadership from J.J. Watt, but Chandler Jones has been a mainstay there for a really long time. These are the numbers that I'm kind of looking at, Pop. Who have the Packers beat so far? That's kind of what I'm staring at, smack dab. I see they beat the Lions, the 49ers, the Steelers, the Bears, Washington. The only good team they've beaten has been the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm not a believer of their 6-1 record so far. Just shooting you straight, man. The Cardinals, they've basically handled everything that they've been dealt with. The Titans on the road, the Vikings, who aren't a bad team, the Rams in LA, the Browns in Cleveland. So, I mean, they've beat some really tough teams, and they've proven that they are right now playing the best football in the league, that they might be in serious consideration for being the best team in the league. So, yeah, Devontae Adams, can Aaron Rodgers win without him? Sure. But I think that they're going up against the most complete team in football, both defensively and offensively. I think the Cardinals win this game. I don't really have a strong feel about the point spread one way or another. But I think that typically in the NFL, if you get the winner, you get the point spread winner 80% of the time. I think it's like 81% of the time. Just figure out who the winner is and you'll cover, typically speaking. But great opportunity maybe for teaser players, throw 6 points, or for, on the tease down to, just to win the game on the Cardinals. But if you agree with what Pop's saying, that's a good tease the other way too for all the teaser players that are out there. Go ahead and get that 13.5, or do a 6.5 or a 7-point teaser, right? or 12.5, excuse me, if you do the 6, or get it up to 13.5 or something like that. I like the Cardinals to win in this game, man. I think that they are the superior team, and I think they'll prove it tonight. I do want to mention one thing, though, that you hit on, which is Kyler Murray has been getting beat up. And that was always a concern for me because of his small frame. And because a lot of times when you're real agile and you're able to move around like Kyler Murray can, it's almost like you become a moving target. And because you're moving in space, you almost put yourself at more risk than somebody who's just a pocket passer. So let's see if Kyler Murray can hold up. Last year, he didn't. If you remember, he missed the last couple of games. So I think that's going to be the key to this, because if he stays healthy throughout, I think we're looking at the MVP of the National Football League.
Yeah, and I got much love for you, Mike, but they can't be considered a superior team till they get rid of that coach. I know they're playing really well right now, but we both know that the fall apart situation is near. It might be knocking on the door tonight. You know what I mean? Because their quarterback, I just hope he can hold up, because tonight, if I'm a Cards backer, I hope that he can get through the 4 quarters of the game, not even just the season. It's going to be tough tonight, man, but it's going to be a really good game. And I do understand everybody's backing of the Cardinals because they're comfortable, and they've been a really good team all season long. And they've shown and proved that they are, a part of the NFC elite, what has transpired. But we got, I think, 4 other teams that are only 1-loss team. So this is a very, very fun race when you think about it, when it comes down to the NFC. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to talk some NBA. And then we're going to talk some tickets as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles Live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and Mr. Mike Abadir. And we'll be right back to you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the Lakers. And it what a game to blow last night, Mike. These guys were up 26 points at one point. Even in the first quarter, scored 41 points. They scored 72 points in the second half. They wind up scoring 43 in the second half. A tale of 2 games for the Lake Show last night. So you literally bust down a team, beat down a team by 16 first half, and then you come back around, you have a bad third quarter, and then you don't finish the game when it's time to finish the game. This was an absolute film game for the Lakers to look at defensive wise moving forward. But I will say this, I like the way that they looked in the 2 games without LeBron. It's not that they can continue without LeBron, but I think this team needed to have some games without him so they can get to know each other a little bit better. LeBron's going to always be able to make you look good. We both know this. You know what I mean? If you're going. So you don't need him to, kind of fill out how the team is going to be. But these other guys needed to figure it out with each other. And I think they did a good job of doing that. But I think that the defensive principles are going to have to be reinforced once again, because you cannot, I repeat, you cannot lose a game like this to a team like the Thunder, who lost their first 3 games by 15 points or better, and then lost by 8 to the Warriors in a game that, they got a little easy basket at the end to put it within single digits. But everybody who bets should have knew that there was a problem when you saw that the Thunder were actually a 4.5-point dog against the Lakers, and they were almost a double-digit dog against everybody else. So that there was the first warning sign that the Lakers could be in a little bit of trouble tonight against a desperate team like the Thunder. And what happened was simply this. They did the same exact thing that the Lakers did when they used to lose 60 games a year. They got a big lead, and they just went ahead and said, we're going to relax a little bit, and they'll probably won't come back because their shooting's been so bad today. We don't have to worry about anything. And then next thing you know, team pieces together a 10-0 run, a 12-2 run, 15-2 run, and next thing you know, you're losing the game. And that's exactly what happened to the Lakers yesterday. And the Lakers are going to have to really be able to make the adjustments and remember to keep their foot on teams' necks. That's not championship quality traits right there. That's we lose 40 to 50 to 60 game traits right there, Mike. And they got to do better. They got to be better. And it's just that simple. And once again, the Lakers cannot think that they can move forward with getting 17 turnovers a night in games as well, too. So there's a lot of things that need to be worked out by the Lakers, but I know in due time the Lakers will be right where they want to be.
Yeah, look, there's a couple of things that I want to point out. The first one is right now they're giving up the most points in the entire NBA on a per game basis. They have the worst defense in the NBA. We're only 5 games in. But that is something that can be fixed, and it must be fixed in order for them to succeed. Secondly, Westbrook, no surprise, triple-double. I'm kind of curious, though, what is his lifetime record when he gets a triple-double? I wish we had somebody from Elias on hand to be able to pull up that stat, because I'd be very curious to see when he's a one-man show, is that good for the team or not? Look, the Lakers have some talented guys to be able to distribute the ball to, so at least he's getting those assists in so that he could be the playmaker. I don't know if he should be taking as many shots as he does sometimes, but hey, that's his game, and the Lakers do that going in, and you got to live and die with Russ's style of play. It wasn't a surprise also that he performed well against his old team, OKC. But look, the state of the Lakers is the subject matter of this little section within your show here. I think the state of the Lakers is it's too early to be able to make a claim about the state of the Lakers, but they need to get it together defensively, because that's right now a very obvious issue.
Well, it's just a daily talk about after the game or before the game and things like that, just to get people prepared, and the after fallout of the game as well, too. I don't expect the Lakers. I'm not putting the state of the Lakers as if they're going to be riding the championship as soon as we start. It's just a game by game topic that I like to discuss with people about the Lakers moving forward, because the Lakers are something that I follow very closely, and I just want to give my Leka opinion out. You know what I mean? So right now, you can't take anything into the point to where that it's real. I'm not gonna get like these. And it's no offense to you or diss to you, Mike. It's just that I see a lot of people who talk to Lakers getting way too overzealous about what's happening right now. And that's where you can differentiate the people who are just parade watchers and people that actually been following the Lakers for the last 30 some odd years. You know what I mean? It's a different. We're a different group of people. You know what I mean? You're gonna get all these people. Oh my God, you got to trade everybody. You know what I mean? No, you don't have to do that. You just got to figure out what's gonna work. But there are some players though that might need to be removed, in my opinion, as well, too, Mike. And I don't know if you know this, but I would say that DeAndre Jordan is no fit for the Lakers right now, to be honest with you. Yeah, he had a few dunks the other night and all that good stuff, but he's washed up. 2 teams paid him to go home. So why would you take the flyer on him? And then Dwight Howard is too animated of a guy. And I think the third time was too much with the Lakers. It really didn't work the first time, and it kind of didn't work the second time. The Lakers just lucked up and won a championship, and he was able to have a good little moment against Jokic in the second round. But other than that, he was just there. You know what I mean? He helped, but he didn't make the significant impact that you would want Dwight Howard to make moving forward, because he hasn't been that player in 10 years. Or I won't even say 10, because he was in the final 10 years ago. Let's say about 7, 8 years. But he hasn't really been the same guy since Kobe embarrassed him in the NBA Finals, to be honest with you. So, I look at it in a sense, but I totally agree with you, Mike. You can't take anything into fruition. You can't take anything seriously with the Lakers right now, even in losses like this. But this is a good wake-up call, and this is something that the Lakers have to fix quickly, or they're going to be an 8th seed or not even in the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed. Like I said, I do believe that it's fixable. And I think when you have veteran players who know what it takes to win a championship, who know how to space out their game throughout the season, throughout a long season, I would not be at all surprised if they really put the clamps on defensively after they get a little bit synced up. Look, they do have a veteran roster, but it's also kind of an aging roster too. So I'm kind of curious as to what the future of the Laker is. What's the game plan? I know we live in the here and now, but the Lakers, to me, have assembled a lot of guys that have past accolades, but maybe are way beyond their prime. Great example is the one you pointed out, DeAndre Jordan. But with that said, I do think they'll probably figure things out defensively by game 10, 11, 12. So I would not at all be surprised if they're under 500 through the first 10 games, and then they go on a 18-5 run from here until the All-Star break.
Right. And you know what works out really well for the Lakers right now? Next 9 out of 10 games will be at Staples Center as well, too.
There you go.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the NBA Thursday games. And this is my bread and butter, Mike. This is my baby right here. Hoops in the NBA and the college basketball. I really spend a lot of time with it and everything like that. Everybody, I know you always say boxing and all that good stuff, but this is where I really made my name at, is in hoops. Is pretty much is where the PrimeTime Capper became the PrimeTime Capper about a decade ago, so pretty much and jumping on Twitter, throwing out big dogs when nobody was doing that type of stuff back in 2015. I swear it used to be the chalk market in a sense. Like,
oh yeah,
guys handing out minus 280 as if it was value. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. And then getting raped that night as well, too, in the game. You know what I mean? I don't like to say the word rape, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
But, getting absolutely worked and then blaming the world for why that happened. No, you just don't know what you're watching. You don't know what you're doing. It's easy because amateurs get exposed fairly quickly.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny when you do betting, you're gonna look good maybe your first 2-3 games, and then when you deal with that severe loss, how do you bounce back from that? That's always the question. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of fly-by-night capping services come and go, Mike, in my time. I've seen about maybe 2,000 to 3,000 of them come and go all these years doing this on Twitter and all that good stuff. So, I know what comes with the territory. Some people can't handle losing like they can handle winning. And that's, pretty much what it is. But let me stop babbling and let's talk about the Wizards and the Hawks. The Hawks coming here minus 140, Wizards plus 115. plus 2.5 on the spread tonight. My over under 222.5 points. This is a very pick'em game tonight. Hawks Wizards. It's not going to be a national game tonight. The national game tonight will be it looks like there is there a national game tonight? Yeah, there is going to be no national game tonight because usually we have a Thursday TNT game, but we don't have a Thursday TNT game tonight because they did their stuff on Tuesday this week.
So yeah, I think there's just one game on NBA TV tonight, which is the Knicks and the Bulls.
Right. And then everything else is local. But if you have Bally, if you have food, well, let me not do that because they don't pay me to do that anymore. So which guy was going to do an advertisement, but I ain't going to do it. But yeah, Hawks Wizards. What I say here is I think what happens is that you have to give the Wizards a shot. The Hawks are coming out of a really, really tough game last night against the Pelicans, who are not very good at this moment, but they played them well because they was on national television last night. And then some nights when you're not on national television, you don't look as good. You take kind of a night off. You have Trey with the bad shin as well too. So I like what I see with the Wizards tonight, and they're getting a little bit more love on the money line side as well too. So I like the Wizards tonight. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Both these teams are off to nice starts, right? They've won 3 out of their first 4 games. These are 2 teams that expect to, be in the playoffs and hoping to make a run. We thought that Atlanta was going to be a year away, but last year they proved that they were in the thick of things until pretty late. I think the Wizards expect to do something similar this year. They get to face each other multiple times during the season. This is round 1 of a 12-round fight to earn the right to play another 12-round fight. So I wouldn't look too much into this in terms of what does it mean for the entirety of the season. However, as a point spread player, you don't concern yourself with that. We're looking at numbers and how do the numbers align one way or another. I think you're going to see some firepower here. I like over 222. I think we're going to see some scoring.
Sounds good, Mike. Sounds good. Let's move forward. This is an oldie but goodie. This used to be the epic game on
NBA. It was
NBA.
The premier matchup.
It reserved Sunday afternoons for this game, the Sunday matinee game at the Garden. A lot of times in the MJ era, on a Sunday on NBC, a lot of us would be tuned in the playoff games as well.
They got Bob Costas even.
Yeah,
Bob Costas was involved.
All that good stuff. So you got a game tonight that would have probably been on TNT tonight if TNT was showing the game. But I think what you have here is a game between 2 teams that are now returning to relevancy. Now, they've always been popular, but now they're back to winning games with being popular. And the Bulls actually are probably the top trending team in all of the NBA because, with the Last Dance coming out a few years back, the Bulls nostalgia has kind of went back up a little bit as well too. You know what I mean? So, a lot of people feel like they love the Bulls somewhat still. So that's why a lot of people are getting excited. And because who they have, DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, just to name a few. They got a really good team over there in Chicago, but the Knicks got a really good team over there at the Garden as well too. So this winds up being a matchup that we all have been waiting for some time now. And peep this is the first time the Bulls have started 4-0 since 1996. That year in 1996, they won it. 1996-97 championship, they went ahead and won a title. So, but pretty much don't get too excited because we're still really early in the season. And as I keep telling people, this is extended preseason. Got to be ready for these teams to lose 4, 5, 6 games in a row because this is very possible with the Knicks and the Bulls this year as well too. But in this game, I like the over more than anything, and I think that's exactly where we would be going with this one.
Interesting, because remember earlier in the show you were talking about something in the point spread that would have alerted the bettors that something was kind of fishy with respect to the OKC Lakers line being only 4.5. I think this is kind of similar too. The Bulls are at home. They're 4-0, and they're just 1 point or 1.5 point favorites, depending on the book you're looking at. I think this is one of those games where I'm going the other way and going with the Knicks. Big props, by the way, to Julius Randle. He was the first-round draft pick of the Lakers several years ago. He was okay with the Lakers. He's really stepped his game up, man, and become a pretty good player.
I
like the Knicks.
I thought he was killing it with us, but we weren't good. They weren't winning games. You know what I mean? But he was
like his last season, he scored 16 points a game. Now he's up to almost 26.
Right, but he was always like a poor man's LeBron with that team because it was a community effort of scoring.
Sure,
that's why. But he was always the go-to guy with the Lakers the last 2 years he was there, and he could have possibly signed back with the Lakers, but he didn't want to play second fiddle to LeBron. He wanted to be the guy, and he chose the right location. And a lot of people laughed at Julius when he picked the Knicks, but he knew exactly what he was doing. Dog, this is the Garden. Why are we passing up the Garden? And they got money in their hand too. Why not? You go out to New Orleans and kind of go with the flow a little bit in that sorry situation, right after the Lakers. And then you wind up, they trade everybody to New Orleans, the year after, and you wind up going to New York, and you were somewhat of a steal because they did not expect you to be, they didn't expect you to be that good. So it is what it is at the end of the day. This is going to be a great game tonight, and we move forward. All right, so we got the Jazz at the Rockets. This was a good 90s playoff rivalry as well, too. Rockets getting the Jazz at one point, the Jazz getting the Rockets at another point. That was an excellent rivalry in the playoffs because and then in the 2000s going 7 games twice, and Tracy McGrady not being able to get past the first round but have a 3-1 lead against the team and blow it at the same time too. You know what I mean? So you have all those factors going into those old rivalry games. But the Jazz are seen as a big favorite tonight, but this game has trap written all over it as well, too. And when you go to Toyota Center, sometimes, especially on a night like this, you can run into some trouble. They do have the number one scoring rookie, in my opinion. He's an absolute monster. And I think that he's just going to get better by the game. And the Jazz are seen as one of the better teams in the NBA right now. But this is where you can get into some trouble, just like last night. A lot of dogs won last night, Mike. Clippers lose to the Cavs. Bucks lose to the Wolves. I had the Kings with the +8 last night. They beat the Suns. So there's a lot of things that worked out. The Heat beat the Nets. So will tonight be like last night? Maybe, because it's the start of the season and nothing is guaranteed at all in the NBA at this point. So I like the +9.5 on the Rockets tonight at home. I think that they're giving the home team way too much. They're giving the road team way too much love. I know they're good, but it's tough as a road team to go in there with a -9.5 and actually win the game.
The Jazz are the only team in the Western Conference giving up less than 100 a game. They're giving up an average of 99 per game. Yeah, small sample size. We're only, on game 4 for the Jazz. But their defense is looking really good so far. Their offense is what we expect it to be. They're scoring, about 113 points a game, I believe. So that's a pretty nice differential. 14-point spread on average for each of their victories. That's their average margin. They're off to a nice start. Obviously, Rockets, not so much. But I agree with you. I think 9.5 is a lot of points. I think this is one of those games where you're stressing out at the last minute because it's going to depend on the free throws. And I don't love this game, but if I would take a side, it would be to get 9.5 points and hope the Jazz miss a couple of those free throws at the end, and the Rockets maybe make a 3-pointer. It's all you need right at the end of the game to get you within 10.
Gotcha. All right, so we move on, and this one right here is a Battle of Texas. This is in the 2000s and early 2010s, mid 2010s. This was the big playoff matchup literally every single year. And usually the Spurs used to win that matchup as well, too. You know, the Mavs were good at showing up and making it a series, but we know that the Spurs used to really, they won the bulk of those series and moved on and won championships, all that good stuff. And in the 1 year that the Mavs were able to make those big moves and everything like that, the first team, you know, they got to avoid the Spurs in that situation, you know, when they won their championship and everything like that. So, you know, that works out kind of well for the Mavs moving forward. But, you know, after that, though, the Spurs came back around, and I don't think that they played each other too much more after that. But we do remember the excellent series they did have back in 2006, where they played excellent basketball throughout the playoffs, and then they met up with each other in the conference championship game and gave us one of the more epic conference championships that does not get talked about as much as it should, but it was finally the Mavs getting over the hump of what was the Spurs at that moment. So I always look back at that one and say to myself, yeah, that was a good one. But I like the way the Spurs looked the other night against the Lakers. They kind of gave that game away back to the Lakers. They were up 12 points in the fourth quarter at one point, and they gave the game back to the Lakers. I think tonight they get the same type of situation to occur against an old rival in the Mavs, but since they're not at home and they're on the road and they know that they got to play double time, they wind up being my dog of the day, and I'm taking them at the plus 205 that I have here, Mike. So let's see how it shakes out.
The two best players on the court might be not from the U.S. Not might be. They're not. Arguably the two best players on the court are Slovenian and Austrian. Obviously talking about Luka and the center for the Spurs. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Jacob Poeltl.
I wouldn't say he's the best player on the court for the Spurs, but go ahead.
Well, I said two of the best. He's pretty good, man. He's pretty good. I mean,
but their guy is
16 and 10 a night.
Right. But their guy is Murray, though. Delonte Murray. They can live without Poeltl being in the game.
Well,
that's
why I said two of the best.
Just go ahead.
Yeah, I mean two of the best. Euros.
Yeah, I think
shows you how much the game has changed.
I think you just want to throw in Euros, because I thought you was about to say Porzingis, and I was about to really shoot you down. Like Porzingis ain't really played in 18 months, brother.
No, I wouldn't go there. I didn't like him in the first place.
Right.
I was never a big fan of his in the first place at all.
Right.
But I do think that, and you and I talked about this towards the end of last season. You know, the center is a position that kind of was phased out. Maybe it's getting phased back in a little bit. So I paid a little bit extra attention on centers and the importance of them. And to me, anytime you got somebody that can bring you a double-double on average every single night, good tool to have, especially when come playoff time, although I don't think the Spurs, unfortunately, are a playoff team. With that said, in terms of this matchup, yeah, like you said, these are in-state rivals. They've got a long history in the playoffs. And if you look at their scores, typically speaking, they've played pretty close contests, regardless of who's better than who. The last time out was a 2-point game. Time before that, 11, but then 5, 6, 7. So you have a lot of tight contests. I think you're on the right side here. I think just because of the knowledge of one another, typically speaking, you take the side with the points. So I'll go ahead and take the Spurs plus 6.
Yeah, it seems to always work like that. Works like that in the Orlando Heat games as well too. But it didn't work out like that for them the other night. But it works out like that sometimes, man, because teams are overlooking teams and they're not taking them as seriously as they should. All right, so we go ahead and we finish up with the nightcap, which is going to be the Warriors at the Grizzlies and the Warriors in San Francisco tonight. Grizzlies got upended last night by the Blazers, and tonight they come into this one looking to go ahead and right those wrongs a little bit. Warriors actually playing some of the best basketball right now in the league.
Can I say that they're back? Can I
Mhm.
say that? Can I say that they're
If
back?
you want to, you know what I mean? I'm not going to jump the gun and say that they all the way back, but they are playing very good basketball. They did
Okay.
sweep the state of California. You know what I mean? And then they had it, but then when you're down 11 points against the Thunder at the half, I don't necessarily know if I can say you're back. You know what I mean? I know they won the game and everything like that, but I'm going to have to see more against better. You feel what I'm saying? The Lakers aren't, if we were to start the playoffs today, the Lakers aren't a playoff team. The Clippers aren't a playoff team. The Kings aren't a playoff team. And the Thunder aren't a playoff team, in my opinion. Today, not for the season, but today. So I think that they took advantage of teams that aren't all the way ready. Now, are they prepared for the season? Yes. And that's always good moving forward to be a team that's going to be back to your top tier status. You know what I mean? I just want to take my time a little bit because Clay's not back yet. I want to see them back being full throttle Warriors. You know what I mean? And they're close. They got Iguodala back. And I think that's the difference in that team being who they being just a team in the league and being back to being the top-notch Warriors, everything. But I know you do have some personal love with the Warriors being from the Bay and everything like that.
No, I'm not a Warrior fan at all. Actually, I prefer the Kings.
Hey, you know what? And they would strap you down in Modesto, or they would strap you down in Central California if you didn't say Kings, because I know you got that look like, I know you got love for the Lakers, but you got that look like you still mad about 2002 as well, too.
Bibby, Divac, and company. Christie, Doug Christie, White Chocolate.
We knew who could win the fight if there was a fight. It was the Kings as a team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Shaq, regardless of how big Shaq is, Shaq can't. I think Brad Miller probably would have mixed Shaq, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Brad Miller just was a gentleman and didn't want to get a big ass fine. He was just doing what you're supposed to do. Let a big guy like Shaq lose his cool. You know what I mean? But I think that Brad Miller, the way that Barkley slammed Shaq, I think Brad Miller could have held his own, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that was more in their Bulls day, but the Kings specifically brought Brad Miller in to piss off Shaq some more because he could shoot from the outside and he never backed down from Shaq. That was the problem. That was what pissed Shaq off. See, Shaq, it wasn't about people beating up on Shaq or anything like that. Sometimes it was just about a guy who just didn't go nowhere that day. And Shaq just feel like, well, no, let me try to beat him up to get him out the game. And it just didn't work. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But all in all, over-under game for me tonight. I like the under more than anything here. I think that this game is really a toss-up. You got the best point guard in the land in Ja Morant going against the greatest shooter in the land in Steph Curry. So expect some fireworks coming out of this one. Expect some big highlights, and that's why I like the over-under tonight. But I really do like the under in this spot of the 228, but it is trickling down as we speak.
Warriors. I think they're going to whoop up on the Grizz. Give me that -6. I'll take it.
They're the fresh team. The Grizzlies are the team that played the night before and got blew away. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Now it's time to talk some tickets. And when we talk them tickets, I do have the college football for you guys tonight. I also have Thursday night football, and I also have the NBA for you guys. And here it goes. Up first, we got the CFB Thursday Bets. Me and Mike are on the same page. I'm taking the money line as well too, plus 300, and the plus 9.5 is a strong play as well too. If you don't want to chase some money tonight, and then the over 50 with Troy CCU. So pretty much we're on the same game plan with that. And then you have a 47-1 super high five ticket tonight. I got two dogs on that ticket with the Wizards and the Spurs. Then I got the over 216 tonight in the Knicks and Bulls game, as I said before, plus 9.5 on the home team Rockets tonight. Love me a home dog. And then we got the under 227.5 with the Grizzlies and the Warriors tonight. So I like the way that things are shaking up in the NBA tonight. 47-1 ticket. This could be a nice little winner for us. And we kicked some butt last night in baseball. We did sweep out that group last night for baseball money line, first 5 innings with the half run, and also the Astros over 2.5 runs in the first 5 innings as well too. So if you played that, you made you some money last night, and I hope you're feeling good. And last week we hit TNF and we hit it was the Dodgers at that point, but the Dodgers Braves game, we hit all those as well too last week. So hopefully this week we can go ahead and duplicate what we did the last Thursday night. And TNF Bets night, you guys already know, if you watched my show earlier, NFL Bet Exchange, I'm going with the Packers +7 tonight. You guys can go ahead and add in the points if you need to. I'm going to take the Packers first half tonight, +185. And then I do expect this game to have some scoring to it tonight. I'm taking the over 9.5 in the first quarter as well, too. Mike, anything you want to add to that?
No, just that my favorite play of the day of any sport, pro, college, NBA, you name it, is that over on Coastal Carolina and Troy over 50. I love that. Let's get a lot of scoring and enjoy it as we watch some of the other games and scoreboard watch this one.
Well, Mike's okay for sure. Mike's saying he's going to put up one of his players' game checks for this one, okay? One of his former players, not one of his recent players. We're not trying to do anybody.
Yeah, just
Zach Wood
just to be candid, I do not participate in wagering on college football. Just to be clear about that, I don't touch college football, but I can have an opinion on it.
Okay. All right, no worries with that. We're trying to make sure me and Mike are both going to be at Super Bowl Media Week in LA, and we're both going to be over there. I'm going to be recruited for Mike. Watch, we're going to work together. Well, don't worry, Mike. I'm going to take that class where you can become a sports agent in a month and really just defeat the whole purpose of you going to school for 12 years to become one. You know what I mean? That's just so funny to me that somebody can sell you that you can become a sports agent in 1 month. And then Mike breaks it down for me like, it's not that easy, Pop. You still got to do the actual test to become you have to pass the test to become the agent. Then you have to have an actual agency in place that you have to register with the NFL as well. There's a lot of things that go into it, and they're not explaining that part to you.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a whole separate show, and we can have that as a special show to educate the folks out there that think that they want to jump into this thing. It's not so easy.
I wish I'd have met Mike probably when I was about 18, because honestly, this is, before we go off, this is the honest truth. After I realized I wasn't going to be a pro athlete about 13 or 14, because shit just keeps getting harder and harder, and keeps getting more and more expensive. When they got guys from the hood and things like that, they were really special. You know what I mean? And somebody else actually provided the opportunities for you with that. You just didn't play in the hood and they come and get you. No, you have to go out to where they're at so they can see you. You know what I mean? But by the time I got to about 16, 17, I wanted to be a sports agent. I said, if I can't be in the pros, why don't I just become the guy that handles the pros' money? And I will always want to send a shout out to this man right here. And I should have followed up more about it. But when I got to college, cut the lights out, man. I was done. I was done with school by the time I got to college. We were over here more worried about what we were going to make money off of with the students. You know what I mean? We were hustling more than anything. But I always want to thank DeMarco Farr's brother, Tony. I don't know if you know him from agent circles and things like that, but Tony Farr was a big inspiration for me now in what I do in my regular life now with my business and things of that nature. And he showed me that you can be your own boss and all that good stuff. I met him at his office in Beverly Hills, not too far from Westwood, right on Sunset Boulevard, all the way at the end, Mike, right before you get to Bel Air, to the houses and everything. His office was right there. Mike shaking his head is that Mike must know Tony as well too. So pretty much I know all the agents know each other because you guys have to show up at the same stuff. But he was pretty huge, and at that point in time, like, there wasn't a lot of black agents in the NFL, and he pretty much was like the guy. And that's the agency that a lot of people work for. I know he's probably out of that now. I think that he does more financial advisor stuff now and things of that nature, but he's still a very successful businessman. So I just want to go ahead and send Tony a shout out real quick for, letting me meet with him and talk with him a little bit and get some game from him when I was an 18-year-old senior at Pasadena High School.
Yeah. We always remember those mentors, those who give us maybe a nugget of information that we carried with us the rest of our lives. For me, that's Morris Bradshaw, the original number 81 on the Raiders, wide receiver, Super Bowl winner in the 70s, played for Madden, played for Flores, played right at that time period, the Oakland Wild Card win against the Eagles, and then the LA Raiders and everything in between. He was my mentor. He grew me when I was with the Raiders, and I'll eternally be thankful to Mo for everything that he taught me and the amount of time he spent grooming me to be me.
Now, quick question: Big George Atkinson, did he ever send you out to go get one of them Subway sandwiches he liked, one of them heroes? Because he was always talking about them hero sandwiches on them Channel 5 things, like the hero sandwich. I was just like,
the assassin.
Yeah, the assassin. You feel bad for him. His son played in the NFL, passed away. And he had twin sons too. They both passed on, but it's all good. George is a great guy, but for another show, you're gonna have to tell me some George stories, though. I know you have plenty of them because he was right up under Al. You know what I mean? Literally.
Yeah, actually, I probably have more Willie Brown stories, but we'll get into some of the Raider lore at another date.
Mike, we can tell you was a Willie Brown runner. Mike, go get this. Mike, go get that. Mike, go get this.
Actually,
whatever his name
I'll leave you guys with this note. The one guy who I was an absolute runner for was Al Locasell. Now, for those who watch any of the old school NFL films stuff about the Raiders and the autumn wind and all that kind of stuff, Al Locasell, God rest his soul, he was Al Davis's right-hand man. They were best friends. And Al Locasell ran. I don't even know what he did. Nobody knew what he did. Nobody knew. But he was an important figurehead in the organization because he was Al's dude. Now, This guy was like 4'10", no joke. Smallest dude, most powerful dude. For whatever reason, he took a liking to me, which was really cool because he is actually the one that scouted Joe Montana and Ken Anderson, quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he could tell you things, unbelievable knowledge. This guy was amazing. So I absorbed everything from him like a sponge. But it was funny because he'd just walk by my office. He'd give me the bat signal, wouldn't even say a word, just give me kind of like point to like his wrist or something, kind of like time to go. And I would give him a ride because he couldn't drive because he's too short. So I would drive him to the Oakland Hilton because that's where he lived during the week. That's where he stayed, right? Because he'd moved to LA and never moved his family back because they were in school. So he would stay at the Hilton during the football season. And so anyways, those 15 minutes to and from the Hilton every day became something very special for me. And it became kind of the inside joke around the office. People would be like, how the hell did you become the driver for Al Locasell? And Mo would be like, do you want me to talk to him? Like, no, I love it. I love absorbing everything from this guy because he's got more stories than you could ever imagine. So, Loki, big shout out to you, man. Upstairs, I've always appreciated everything you brought to the table, man.
All right, beautiful stuff. And we're going to end the show with that. Thank you for that story, Mike. And we'll have a day of Raider stories one of these days. Raider and boxing, travel and boxing travel stories.
And I've got some really funny stories too. Remind me, and I'll get into Eric Allen and why am I blanking on the other cornerback? Just remind me about Eric Allen. I'll tell you a great story.
Got you. All right. So with that, another great show with my man Mike Abadir, sports radio, sports talk aficionado, sports agent, and me, old Pop. DiBiase, the primetime capper. So pretty much you guys make sure to lock it in with Mike at 4 today. I'm going to confirm in a moment if I'm going to be able to join Mike today, but make sure you guys do listen to Mike's show today. He should have a lot of good stuff, but I definitely will be on there next week. And I'm calling out Gino B right now. You better show up next week so we can all talk Breeders' Cup, because I definitely want to hear what Gino got, because Gino going to have some value for us.
We'll definitely have you be a big part of the Breeders' Cup show, man. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, so hopefully we can go ahead and bum rush the Breeders' Cup next Friday too. We'll see. I'm trying to figure it out. I've already got several owners and trainers like, are you coming or what? But we got a fight in Vegas next Saturday too. Big one. Caleb Plant, Canelo, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that tomorrow. So you guys make sure to tune in. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live. And I'm your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And this is the premier sports betting show. And I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.